Okay, folks. So in the program it says a surprise speaker. We're going to try and not let this be a letdown, Lennert. And it really is a surprise because Lennert and I were just messaging each other 2 days ago, and he says, "I'm in town. Do you want to meet for coffee?" And I said, "Let's do it on stage. I guess we don't have coffee."
Where's the coffee?
Where's the coffee? And so, the reason why I wanted Lennert on stage is CitizenM. How many of you have stayed at a CitizenM? Okay, so it's a big crowd. He's the one who created it, so like he's raising his hand. But yeah, and the thing that I've told him this, and he knows it, is that all the things we talk about in terms of modern experiential hospitality distilled in a lobby, CitizenM is probably the only brand that has figured it out. Who disagrees with that? Nobody disagrees with that. So, I mean, they won't raise their hand, but yeah, even if they do. And the brand that sort of copied these, there's a bunch of copycats. I would have said something more freely 2 weeks ago since they just got bought by Marriott, but I will say it anyway. Aloft tried to, he won't say it, let me say it. Aloft tried to copy it, they sort of lost it. Moxie is trying too hard to be cool. Ruby Hotels, which IHG just bought or something, IHG. Yep. I think they do a good job, decent job. They're as close a facsimile to CitizenM that has been there. And the first time I checked into a CitizenM, I think it was London, maybe it was Amsterdam, I don't remember where it was, many years ago. And I went, it was late night, I remember, and I went in and I was expecting a front desk. And I went in there and I could not understand how am I supposed to check in until this guy came and stood next to me and I said, he said like, "Can I help you?" That's what I remember. I don't know if exactly that was his words. And then he said, "Oh yeah, you just do this." I said, "Okay, is that it?" He said, "Yeah, that's it." And then I went into the room and it's a very standardized but well-appointed room. I think you were the first hotel to use iPad. Am I wrong in that? Like iPad or whatever, some sort of tablet to do the curtains and ask for whatever you want. And
before the iPhone was there, we had that. Yeah.
Before the iPhone, right? Yeah. So
we didn't
anyway,
use iPads before the iPhone, but we had touchscreen devices to do that.
So I'm giving you all this preamble, not just because I'm a fanboy, but because where we are today and what CitizenM has created, what the news that they just came out with of being acquired by Marriott, in an age of AI, will we lose that unique thing as part of a larger brand, or not? We're going to talk about that. And then how do you think about personalization when you have figured out so many elements of what the industry talks about, particularly at the lobby level, in a world of sort of experiential hotel design? So he was employee number 1 at the company. What did you do as employee number 1?
What did I not do is the question. We literally started CitizenM in 2006.
Why did it get started again? Ratan started because?
Yeah, Ratan Chadha was he was our founder, and he always had a frustration with, as the CEO and the founder of a fashion company in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, these people, the designers always complained about the hotels that he put them at. And so he always had this frustration, and he always felt what I did with Max, making fashion affordable, nice.
He's the founder of Max.
He was the founder of Max. He thought, the hotel industry also needs something like this. Why does affordable need to be boring? Why does it need to be cheap? There's certain, rules of gravity in the hotel industry. We need to find those, and we need to solve for those. That's when he walked into actually the founder of the building concept, and that together became the founding platform of CitizenM, and that's when I joined. So I spent most of my early years at CitizenM.
That was 2006?
2006. Yeah, I was involved in a brainstorm in 2005, and then Ratan and a couple of other guys, we said, let's do this. So the early years was about getting ready for a 2008 opening, at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. We bought a site. The site's been empty for 35 years. It had a hotel permit on it, but nobody else could build a hotel. The Sheraton across from the street has the same number of room keys that we have, but it's 4 times the size. So nobody could actually, get that ground lease at that specific spot. And we said with our modular concept, we can squeeze these amount of rooms, we can get that ADR, and that combination is going to hopefully make this work. But we took a couple of big bets, right? The first bet was a 15 square meter, 150 square foot room.
Yeah.
Are people going to sleep in that? The bet from wall to wall.
I mean, at that point, what was Ibis probably that small?
Not even.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Because it's very hard to make 150 square foot work, and you need to really have an architect look at the functional space, with the biggest window you can imagine, a Californian king bed. You need to position the shower somewhere. You need to make some radical changes that nobody else dared to make. So, okay, we're willing to test that out. Let's do a big bet. The second bet was technology. We worked back then with Philips. It was only for the rich people that had these Crestron devices that control super luxury homes. And we wanted to create that experience in the room. Like any hotel, try to turn all the lights off, right? It's always this quest for, different user interfaces. And we just wanted to have a device, lights off, temperature on, the color of the room, the blinds.
The joke is that
curtains.
half of the time it doesn't work. Like you press something and then turns that light on. I'm not talking you guys, but in general, what technology.
Yeah. So we worked on that with Philips actually in the early stage, and then later on, of course, the iPhone launched, and we first actually went to Galaxy tablets, and then I think in 2012 we went to tablets, and at some point it moved to the phone. But we focused a lot on technology, and not just technology that is visible in a geeky way for people to use, but also technology in the back end. Because remember, our founder came from fashion. In a Mac store, when he sold Macs in 2001 and he had an earnout in 2006, there were 1,600 stores. He sold to an American company, messed it up. At some point, I think Macs is still there. But in fashion, it's unthinkable that in a retail store, somebody makes a decision on price, that there's somebody responsible for IT, everything is centralized. So the other part of the puzzle that we solved is how can we have a very centralized business model where at the central location, all the intelligence happens, and at the site, what we sell is not close, but guest happiness. We just need people that can be people. In order to do that, you cannot have a front desk, we said, because a front desk was one of the frustrations. You stand in line to check in, you stand in line to check out, and there's a human being that is doing a very transactional process, something that a computer can do.
Also, they're very seriously typing away and
Yeah, and then they do all these kind of things, and they're working on the PMS, and they're programming a key in a key system. I mean, Adam talked about it, 19 different systems, behind this front desk. And this front desk, I think that's fundamentally, if you, morph a bit to AI, is fundamentally the biggest problem the hotel industry has. Because if there's a front desk with availability of a human being 24/7, you can dump a lot of stuff on the front desk. Like a front desk clerk can look at a reservation and a comment, say, oh, he's a repeat customer, or please charge a virtual credit card provided by Booking.com. If you eliminate the front desk, you got to automate these processes. If you got to automate these processes, you need to connect the systems. So that's something we did already in 2006. We figured it out, and first it was through self-check-in and kiosk, and we still have those things. But so we've always been, very, data-driven, but not to be geeky about it, but to allow. If you go to our Times Square property, most of the staff there, they've never worked in a hotel. They're in their spare time, they work at our hotel, but their prime job is, they're in Broadway shows. There's actors, there's musicians, and we hire those people because they're freaking nice people. There's an energy, there's a buzz with these people. They generally want to be kind.
Are your training costs higher than the industry norm?
Sorry?
Are your training costs higher because than the industry norm because they haven't gone to school, to hospitality school or something like that?
Yeah, but you don't need to, because we've always said, these ambassadors, we call them, they're at, the top of our pyramid. These are the people that deliver the experience. We should do everything we can to make sure that all the transactional stuff goes away from them. So they can just be genuine, nice people.
Yeah.
Hey, Rafat, how are you?
The interesting thing you were showing to me is the staff, when they eat food, you were showing in the hotel,
yeah.
in Times Square, they don't go behind in some room somewhere. They sit where everybody else is sitting, and they have food there when they need to have the food.
Yeah, and it has two benefits.
a very
First of all, they
interesting,
feel like this is a human-to-human experience. So this typical, that hotel staff is less than a guest. That it's like an eye-level experience, like in an Apple store. And second of all, you don't need to build a canteen. If you don't need to build a canteen, you can deploy all your lobby space to the guest, right? So at Times Square, we have a pretty tall building, and the entire ground floor is guest, right? It's a triple height ceiling.
It's a very high ceiling.
With art, and it's like you walk into from the buzzing Times Square in an oasis, rather than this small space where there's a front desk and then you go up to your room.
Are you talking about Marriott Marquis? Oh wait, never mind. They now own you. Never mind. Go ahead.
Are we not going to make jokes about Marriott?
The deal hasn't closed yet. I will try not to derail the deal. Speaking of being bought by an American brand and messing it up, how do you make sure that that Marriott doesn't mess it up? Meaning you did a lot of diligence and went with Marriott for a reason, right? You were involved in the deal, you did the deal, Ratan did the deal, the previous CEO did the deal, whatever. How do you scale the special sauce that you've built? How do you scale the lobby experience?
Well, it's a great question. I think we've always compared, and Ratan always compared brands to human beings. So when we started with CitizenM, after a couple of years, someone in the offsite asked him, "Are we a brand now?" He said, "Yeah, we are a brand, but we're a baby." Right, and then after a couple of hotels, we grew to a toddler. We had an occasional tantrum, right, where you're kind of misbehaving and you're figuring yourself out. And right now we think CitizenM is at it's a teenager. It's beyond teenage. It's going to go to college, right? So we send off our baby, trained it well. It's off to college now. But don't forget, we own and operate 40 hotels. We didn't sell our real estate or operation to Marriott. We sold our brand. And we worked on it really, really hard across the world. So it works in Amsterdam, it works in Copenhagen, it works in London and Paris, in New York, in Boston, in Seattle, at the Meta campus. So, we've...
Oh yeah, the Meta campus is yours.
It's ours, yeah. So it has worked across the world, and now we believe we can actually, it's so stable, we can transfer the copyright of the brand to Marriott so that it can travel. So that was the first benefit for us. So CitizenM can become bigger instead of adding 5 hotels a year in a very, it was difficult. You buy a parking lot at Times Square, and you construct as a Dutch company 230 rooms with a rooftop.
Are all of them new builds? Are all of them new builds for you?
We do new builds, we do conversions.
Right.
And so it's a combination. We always prefer new builds, but in big cities you sometimes have to convert. And
right.
I think we do that pretty well. But it was time for it to grow faster. Everybody has always said you're going to get to 20 hotels, own and operate, and then you're going to sell the brand. You cannot sell too early because then it's not cemented. Currently it's cemented. And you will hear Tony talk about it, and you can ask Naveen this afternoon. They have a tremendous respect for what was created, and that's why they paid the price.
And you told me that one of the reasons why you went with Marriott was really because of Naveen in many ways, or the tech stack that Marriott has figured out better than anybody else.
Yeah, we've been dating, let's say, with Marriott for some time, and typically when you get acquired, you have a lot of due diligence, but we had a lot of reverse due diligence. Because our founder, Ratan, made it pretty clear to the Marriott folks, we have a lot to lose here. We have over 3 billion euros in real estate. We're selling our brand to you. If you mess this up, we have an issue.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of years, we will be the only owner of CitizenM hotels before some other folks in this room are going to build a CitizenM somewhere else. So we did a lot of reverse due diligence, and one of the reasons that we actually really like Marriott is this comment I made about the front desk. They get that. If you're, go and speak with Naveen this afternoon, if you ask him this plan they have, this single pane of glass, it's like, why is the Apple Store so successful? Because they have a device that all the staff uses.
Yeah.
Right? Why are a lot of hotels unsuccessful? Because they have 19 different systems that staff need to use that they don't have control of. I mean, Marriott can say, you need to buy this PMS, you need to buy this point of sale, you're going to be on, above property, all kinds of systems, but the on-property experience has never been really curated. And Marriott is spending a tremendous amount of money, first of all, on an integration platform, right? So they're building an integration platform, so it's easy for community vendors to integrate. And second of all, they're doing exactly what we've envisioned as well. Our staff has one device. They're not trained on PMS. They don't even know what a PMS is. They don't know debit or credit or how to do stuff. They don't need to. If a guest wants an invoice, you're not going to go to a staff. You go to the chatbot. We have agentic AI. 96% of all queries are handled by AI, including stuff like downloading an invoice, sending it to a guest. And Marriott is going to do that exact thing. They're going to take control for those almost 10,000 hotels they have in their portfolio of that screen that their associates use. And I think that's massive, because you've heard a lot about AI. AI only works if there's data. Right? So if there's no data, and this is the problem in a lot of hotels, there's human beings do all kinds of stuff behind the desk, then it's very difficult to organize that. The moment that you put one screen in front of an associate, and it has the power of this Marriott data ecosystem, and in the case of CitizenM, I mean, we have all of our systems are connected to a data platform, and we're using all of the data. If you're coming to our hotel, we know you like a cold room, so we're going to assign a cold room at your arrival instead of cooling down.
Is that possible now?
That's all working. And so all of the data sources come together, and all of the data sources are being used to leverage personalized experience. We don't even take credits for it. It's just, I like to sleep in a cold room. So, what is the worst thing that can happen?
That's because you're Dutch, but yeah.
You get assigned a room and it's warm, right? And for your P&L, you need to cool down a room. It's costing money. It's costing energy. It's not great for the planet, but it's also not great for the experience. So it was one of the first use cases we had. We have all this data of all these systems and all of the hotel, like the Internet of Things. Let's use it to make that experience better. And Marriott is actually on that exact same track. So, we were quite excited about that. And the other thing, of course, besides growing the brand, and you and I had that conversation, said, Lennert, there was a shockwave in the industry that, you guys have always been, looked at as the one independent hotel that has cracked the distribution game, and now you're going to Marriott. And I was honest about it. I said, yeah. I mean, if you read a lot about this, LinkedIn conversations about, the distribution split, and yeah, we run 20% GDS. We have, our website and our app, they deliver a lot of revenues. But in the end, if you're the owner of a hotel, do you really care about the channel? It's about your net ADR, it's your RevPAR. And, being a part of the Marriott engine, with this 250 million Bonvoy customers, allows us to, fish in a pool that we're currently not fishing in. So there will be a huge upside to our commercial performance, whilst we are retaining our real estate, our operation, the control over how we deliver that, great experience. We can still hire those fantastic, musicians and actresses to be in our front line, and we have the benefit of, Marriott rolling it out and giving us this extra revenue boost.
All right. Speaking of that, do not screw it up. Make sure. Thank you, Lennert. Appreciate it. All right.